Folks who are interested in the Q&A, come gather at the front. Our junior warden is duly out rounding up the troops. So he'll be in shortly, I'm sure.
Hello, everybody. So we put these little Q&A sessions together periodically. I don't think we have yet a rhythm of how often, because I think it just depends. Periodically is probably the right term. And it's really to allow anyone who would like to. I just went out to make sure everybody out on the garden knew, but a lot of them were Swedish youth who were not interested. To come in here and ask away any questions that you might have around how we're going about the dean search and where we are at with it. We had one of these, I think now maybe, is it 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? And so for those of you who are here for that, you've already gotten a little bit of a sense of the fact that we were going to have 5 teams involved in doing this. Those teams have been more or less put together now. So I think the only ones that we have not fully announced might be welcome and prayer.
Yeah, and those 2 are open.
And those 2 are fairly open. And then the thing I would just say is that where we were at is that the visioning team is the one that has most started the kickoff. And what that means is that they have already had a meeting. I know that Linda has also, I think, met with at least the convener, if not the whole group. You can talk about that. Whole group. And that over the course of these next months, they are doing the work on thinking through what is the visioning to go forward for the cathedral that would help us then bring together a job description that would be launched in late September as a starting point to meet the rigorous timing commitments that we have to at least make sure candidates know about this, even if we want to try and make that job description also what I would say tweaked if we had to make any final changes over the course of its advertisement, which would be from September all the way through the end of November. And so that's a little bit of that early timing that I think is probably relevant for all of you here. Part of what we've heard is some fears about the summer months and do we get enough input into that process. And what I would say is that there will be a survey that is launched imminently to the parish, and I think that's going to be next week, if I have that right.
Sue's right there. Ask Sue.
Okay. So we could pass all to those who are the committee chair conveners to probably help us, because that's the one that's most in action right now.
Take the mic. Come up, take the mic.
Hi, I'm Sue Sturman, if you don't know me. So we've been hard at work writing a survey. There is a series of 12 questions that are required to be responded to by both the parishes that are seeking and the candidates. And that's how they mesh together. It's one of the ways that they mesh together. The template for the questions is very, very set, but what we will be sending out to the parish is actually a rewriting and an adjusting of that, because some of the questions on the survey, on that survey, we don't need to go out to the parish for because they're statistical and some of the stuff we already know. And there's two phases to what the visioning team is going to be doing. My co-convener here, Angelina Stelmach. Should I explain this? How much detail? Okay. So there's the visioning team needs to prepare the answers to these questions. But in order to do that, we need participation from the parish, because this is a visioning thing. And actually, it's great. I'm excited about this because this is phase 3 of visioning for this cathedral in the past year. Phase 1 was Lucinda's re-entry commission that Angelina and I and several others worked on, and we reached out to the congregation and we wrote up a report. We spent 3 months hard at work, and we wrote up a report. You can read that report, the executive summary, which is about 30 pages, Of that report, it's up on the website, so it's completely public. We can draw on all of the raw data from that also to help answer the questions on this 12-question survey, even though that inquiry had a slightly different tone, a slightly different intention. A lot of information was gathered that I think will feed into the answers for this survey. And it's recent, it's within the last year. The second phase was the series of cottage meetings that we did within the parish last fall in preparation for the capital campaign. Again, that was a different theme, it was a different set of questions answered, but there was a lot of very open response, and we have all of that data. The results from that survey are also completely public and open and available on the website. So all of that information is available. And so the visioning team will be drawing on the survey that we're coming up with, and also those two recent sets of inquiries. So even if we don't get the volume of responses that we were hoping for, we realize that we've touched at least about 100 people in each of those two previous studies. Obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of overlap in those 100, but they're not 100% overlap. And so I think we have a pretty good database of information already, so I'm not feeling too stressed about reaching out to every single member of the parish, although that would obviously be optimal and ideal, and we will do everything we can. We'll do the survey. We're also going to be looking at maybe doing some other ways of reaching out to people, maybe putting up some, I like Linda suggested we could put up some big Post-it notes in the parish hall after church, have those questions up, and people could just go and write their responses. Very immediate, very easy. So there's lots of ways that we can approach this. We could do cottage meetings, but the timing is the summer, and it's really hard to organize getting people together. I organized those cottage meetings. It was really a lot of work. It's not the most efficient thing to do in a parish like this. It's easier in a geographically smaller parish. The other phase, so once we get those questionnaires answered, and our target is to get the responses drafted up to Linda by August 15th, so that they can then be finessed and posted, so the job can be posted. We can't post the job until those questions are answered by us. And then we can also create a parish profile which takes a different form than it used to take if you've lived through other clergy searches. It used to be sort of a written document. Now it's more web pages or videos, or the format is completely different. But it doesn't have to be limited to those questions. So we can put up some web pages that prospective candidates can look at on our website or wherever. We have yet, between the Visioning Committee, which will provide the data, and the Communications Committee, which I believe will do the formatting of it, we'll work together to figure out, okay, what should that look like? But we have a little bit more time on that because we have until maybe September-ish, and we can keep tweaking that, or even October. But that's where the clergy who are interested in this posting can look and see more amply who we are. And already we have a pretty good website. As homework for this, I went through every page on our website. There's a lot of information there, and it's, I think, pretty well done. So I think we're in pretty good shape. But if you speak to anybody, please encourage them when you see this survey. I know you just got a survey yesterday or day before yesterday, and this is another one. But for me, this is really an opportunity for us. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us as a congregation and as a community to share our vision, to discern together. And discernment is quite different from giving opinions and telling stories. And these are discernment processes, which is a tricky thing to navigate. But we're less interested in your personal opinions than on your discernment, whatever that means for you. I'll let you figure that out. But to the feasibility study survey is geared a little bit more to building, but although it's not limited only to building issues, music, organ, lighting, pews, etc. And this visioning survey is really about our life together and where we want to move forward to so that we can discern together with candidates who the best person to lead us down the path we hope to go down and that God calls us to go down.
Thanks, Sue.
When does this survey close? I don't think I heard that. Is there a date when that survey closes? Maybe you said that.
No, we haven't got that far.
We don't have a date for the survey to go out yet. We are hoping, we've already got a draft, and we're hoping to nail that down on a 1-hour call with the whole team on Tuesday evening. The draft has gone out to the team, it's background reading, we've got homework for the team. Everyone's really stepping up and hard at work. But hopefully it'll go out before July 1st. That's my aim.
And bless them, they had their orientation with me last Tuesday, and they've already, I mean, it's not even been a full week, and they've already got everything divided out and are working on bits and pieces. And you all met with the children this morning? Yes, so they've already done the verbal piece with the children and youth this morning. So this team has, I'm really grateful, they have jumped on things and moved expeditiously, since we're facing the great summer departure that happens in Paris. So my thanks to Sue and Angelina for getting that group organized and off the ground so quickly. You have anything else you want to add?
No, it would be more about Q&A at this point.
Okay, well, let me fill in, and then we will open for questions. The orientation session for the discernment team will be as soon as I escape from this session. They are having their lunch and doing introductions right now, and then I will be doing that orientation. They will have a slower start because they don't actually need to kick into gear until they get names in September. But this summer they will be building their community, identifying what, how they will assess resumes as they come in, and what interview questions they plan to ask. So they have some homework to do across the summer, and then they will be doing a review of candidates starting in September. The piece that 12 questions that Sue kept referring to is there is a national database that the Episcopal Church manages, and all churches who are searching for clergy post the openings on that database, and all clergy who are looking for churches go to that database, and they put their information, and they also respond to the same 12 questions. So that's sort of the dating service database, but it's where you get all your information. There we will post how many members you have, what your average worship is, how many Sunday school kids you have. So it gives the information that clergy need to say, this is a position I want to apply for. I'm going to say one other thing, though. Because we are facing a serious clergy shortage in the Episcopal Church right now, we have to rely on recruitment. So if you know someone anywhere in the Episcopal Church, it could be an ELCA Lutheran pastor, I can't remember. We may need to check with the bishop. I'm assuming it could be a Church of England person, but if you know of someone that you think would be a good candidate, either contact them directly, if it's somebody that you know, and encourage them to apply. Or if you don't know them, you can send an email to me at transitions@teceurope.org, and that address will be around all the time. And I will call that priest and say, someone has suggested you would be a good candidate. Can I sell you on this job? Because we all have to recruit people because of the clergy shortage. I mean, we do that normally, but the clergy shortage makes that more urgent. So I'm hoping that you will contact people you think are worth, so that we can get a candidate pool for the discernment team to talk with. I'll also say one other thing about the communications convener and Sarah, our communications staff person, have met with me, and all communications related to the search will go through Ann Swartzen. And that's so we get a centralized communications channel. So everything, whether it goes on the website or in a bulletin or as an announcement or whatever it is, Ann Swartzen and her team are going to be coordinating that. So there's a lot going on in the cathedral because you have a capital campaign and an anniversary celebration and a dean search all at the same time, and we're all going to work hard to try to keep the calendar from overwhelming us. I think that's probably it on the updates. Let's start on questions. Somebody put your hand up and I'm going to pass the mic to you. Who's got a question? Yes? Come on up. Well, just come on up. It's easier this way, then people can actually see you as well.
That's not an advantage.
Easier to understand for those of us who have to partly deliberate.
Thank you, on my feet. Thank you all for your enormous work. Thank you all for the enormous work that you're doing. To jump in medias res, from what I understand, there are basic criteria for the dean and a basic position description, but that position description will be enhanced or modified or elaborated upon once the surveys are in. Is that correct?
Thanks. I have to have the 12 questions answered. I don't need the position, but they won't let me enter the position as open until I have the information in. So that's why Sue and her team are going so fast to get those 12 questions answered. The position description, the what are the characteristics or things that we want, the vision team will generate a list, then the vestry will chew on that, and they will approve that. It can be, we can slide that a little further into September, and if there's something in the fall that we think of in October, I can still make adjustments. I can go into the database and make adjustments to things. And so, yes, we will have time to tinker with it, so to speak, over time. It's just getting it open so that people know the position's open. There are a couple of other places where I can and will post it sooner, just because I want to get the word out. And there are a couple of other networks. They're not national. They're more east of the Mississippi and down on the east half of the U.S. There's a conference of transition officers that I belong to. And I will post that sooner because that doesn't require a lot of information. I can just say, come look at our wonderful website and see who we are. So we have time to take the input and get that to candidates. We can make that happen. Other questions? Harriet, come on.
Hi, this is probably something I should know. These 12 questions, is the congregation going to be asked to survey like for the capital campaign with those? We'll get something from Sue? Yeah. Okay, I was late coming to the meetings. Maybe.
Right. Yep, you'll get a survey. Please answer the survey. Yeah, some of the wording is bizarre, so rewriting it is a good idea.
Sorry, just to follow up on that, on the survey, on a specific, is that to giving members of the cathedral or to the full community? For example, I have groups to help look after the 20s and 30s. We have a lot of transitional people through that group, which is great and part of our growing ministry, and how we make sure that they have their opportunity to input. Forgive me if I missed that earlier.
You have a team member, don't you, in that group?
We do have a team member from the 20s and 30s on our vision. Yeah, we also have team members from youth and from children, and so we do. And honestly, I do not know the nature of the email list that we will be using, so that's an interesting question for me as well. Personally, I would think it should go out to the entire community, but and this applies to everyone here also. If you have not updated your data for the mailing list, we changed over our mailing list system, our whole software. So if you haven't updated your data, you're not going to get the survey. If you didn't get the capital campaign thing yesterday, on Friday rather, and if you didn't get this week's newsletter, then you haven't updated your information in the database, and you need to go onto the website and do that, or speak with Sarah Sturman, who happens to be my daughter, and make sure that that information is updated.
Yeah, and just encourage anybody who has not gotten that capital campaign survey, urge them to contact the church and get their name on the mailing lists, because that's where we're falling off the queue. I know it's been a nightmare. The staff, apparently, Sarah in particular, have worked hard this week to try to put that list together. But other questions?
Harriet, maybe you need to see Sarah then. Make sure your name is correctly on the list. Are there other questions? Because Harriet, just one second. Are there others with questions? Is it still related to that same topic, Harriet, that you want to ask a question? No. Okay. Can't quite hear you, so let's just make sure there's other questions. Anybody else want to raise their hand? I think the point in the database is really important. It has been a tricky one to try and get that name system universalized, but it is the intent. We had a vestry retreat yesterday and talked about this. To answer your question, the intent is to really have a broad group to reply. Okay, so that really was the intent that we all discussed yesterday in our discernment about how to reach enough people, which is also why Sue was talking about, can you get Post-its available for those who might be here? So that is the intent of this, and if I think that's the best advice you got just there is, if you're not getting the right email, if you think, wait, maybe I didn't get an email, contact someone off the bulletin. I saw a lot of email addresses today when I looked at the bulletin. Any of those email addresses should get to the right zone where we can make sure you are getting on there, or people you know are getting on there.
And the same thing, I'm also on the capital campaign committee. I'm a little busy around here. Same thing, the question applies to the survey about the capital campaign, because capital campaign is by no means limited only to pledging members of the cathedral. There may be lots of people who don't even worship you that might be interested in supporting restoring the world. So we're definitely not limiting. Our fundraising for the capital campaign is definitely not limited only to pledging members.
Okay, Harriet. While I'm up, anybody else have questions while I'm up and running with the microphone? Okay, Harriet. Here, Harriet, come so people can see you.
Well, this has to do exactly with that question. If I understand correctly, with the capital campaign, it's only one survey per household.
That's what I understand.
Which I think is strange, because people might not have the same idea on things.
That you have to talk to Maurice.
Yeah. Because that, yeah, okay.
That's household, but this one is per person. Okay. We will talk timelines unless I see other questions people would like to raise their hands while I'm up. Okay, let's do timelines then, because I think it's always important to make sure it's clear, because that's probably the hardest one, is to keep in our heads what we're working on and for what type of milestones. Linda.
Okay, thanks. So, as I said, the candidates will start applying when they hear the job's open, but mostly in September and October. So your discernment team is going to be chomping through resumes all fall. They will stop the middle of December because clergy just get overwhelmed with Advent and Christmas, and there's no sense. The last 2 weeks in December are dead water. So they will be honing down that list. I don't know, I can't predict how many you're going to get applicants, You know, 10 years ago, I would have told you you can expect 80 to 100 applications, but we might only get 10 or 15. I mean, it's a huge clergy shortage. So that's why I keep saying we'd have to recruit. But I'm asking them to hone down the list. And so as they start the new year, they will start doing Zoom interviews in January and February. If their list is fairly short and or they move fairly quickly, they may be able to squeeze in-person visits. The vestry is going to ask the discernment team to send the last roughly 8 or 9 names to the bishop to make sure he blesses them, so we don't come down and then he has to reject the last person. So we're going to get him involved earlier on. And then the vestry has asked the discernment team to give them 3 or 4 names. And those people will be brought with their spouses, if they have one, to Paris for several days. So you basically need a week per candidate. If they can move quickly, we'll do that in part of February and early March. You have the presiding bishop coming and the anniversary celebration in March 23rd, I think, something around there, the March 20th timeframe. And then Easter is April 9th. So we've lost those 3 weeks. Those are dead water weeks. There's no way you're going to have candidates coming then. So if we don't get them in early, which I'm inclined to think that won't work, then the vestry said immediately after Easter, 3 weeks, site visits, the vestry makes their decision, issues a call. They're hoping they can do that in June and negotiate a letter of agreement that usually takes 2 or 3 weeks. And then there needs to be so there would be an announcement at the end of that time period. Somewhere, let's say late June, July, you get an announcement. Priest arrives maybe hopefully by the end of August, ideally, so that they're ready to be able to start with you in the fall with the new year, after you all come back from vacation. Does that make sense to people, that sequence? So, and the communication team's responsibility is to keep the congregation informed. So you will be hearing about these different milestones. We may have to adjust at some point. These are goals. We'll be adaptable. But the communications team is going to keep you informed. Here's where we are. Here's what's happening. We got this many applications. Now it's down to this. Yeah, that's so on. All right,
I saw one question come up. If there are others, please feel free to raise your hands. Francine?
Just a quick question. If we know of somebody we think would be a good candidate for this position, where should they apply? To whom do they send their application?
Okay, I'll bring that one back so that we have Linda answering it. Anyone else? Okay. Applications and how to ensure they get the right place.
They should go on the website and download your profile so they can see what they're applying to, and it'll give them the address. It'll be the transitions at tec-europe.org.
Not now. We can't do that.
Well, they can do it. They can put it in now because it'll go into a folder and wait until it's actually officially open. We can receive names now, we just can't post it on the National Church's database until we get your questions.
There's a lot, there's sort of a semi-profile of the cathedral on the website already. We're going to be enhancing it
Yeah.
based on the work that the vision team does.
Anyone else? So I think if we're now getting into mid-June, we should do another one of these. I think maybe pre-July 14. That is when a lot of the parishioners tend to clear out of here. So just keep in mind that we'll put it on the agenda to make sure we do another one, and just where have we gotten to. July 1 is the survey. That's what I heard today, is that's the target. So let's just keep that in mind in terms of most short-term timetable is July 1 survey going out. So maybe we'll do that as a communication follow-up, the fact that, did everyone get it? Do you understand it? Bring Q&A to that to clarify anything if you would like, maybe that first week of July.
And just so that you know, it looks like the survey will be designed to have mostly open answers. So you can write lots of text if you want. It's not just going to be, yes, no, or a scale of 1 to 5. There may be a combination of different formats of questions, but I think most of the questions really going to be asking you your discernment process, your thoughts about what you're discerning. So lots of input. Will be able to lots
Yeah.
of free-flowing input.
So thinking that Dennis and I are talking, maybe we'll shoot for July 10? Yeah. So Sunday the 10th would be the next one of the Q&A sessions. We'll make sure that's announced in the bulletin. Anything on your side, Linda? No, I think we're good. Okay. So thank you, everybody, for attending and being so interested, and help us to continue to make sure we're getting the word out the best way possible. Enjoy your Sunday.